Welcome back to another episode of my weekly meal prep. This is the second week in a row that I couldn't use my stove or oven. Turns out fixing it was going to cost a lot more, so my landlord has ordered a new one. Fingers crossed I'll have it by next week. Because let's be honest, there are only so many meals you can prep without a stove before you start missing it. With my cooking options still limited, I relied on my trusty Instant Pot to handle dinner, and this week I got creative with Indian-Italian fusion chicken keema pasta. I started by sauteing ground chicken directly in the Instant Pot. Once it was browned and smelling amazing, I added my spices, red chili powder for heat, garlic powder for some depth, and finally Shan's keema masala for that signature keema flavor. To make the base richer, I tossed in chopped onions and a bit of tomato paste. My tomato paste looks like that because I keep it in freezer in small portions to keep it fresh. My freezer is basically a collection of random experiments at this point, but it works. Once the chicken was coated in all those fragrant spices, I did something bold, added uncooked pasta directly into the pot. I've heard that it works in Instant Pot, but this was my first time trying. I poured in just enough water to cover the pasta, but not completely. The pasta package recommended a 10-minute cooking time, but I read a formula online that Instant Pot only takes 30% of the recommended cooking time, so I set the Instant Pot to pressure cook for only 3 minutes. Since the chicken was almost fully cooked, it would also finish perfectly within the 3 minutes. While the Instant Pot was doing its thing, I moved on to prepping lunch. This week's lunch is taco-inspired chicken salad bowls, fresh, colorful, and packed with protein. I started with the chicken, cutting it into cubes, spraying some oil over them and seasoning them with taco seasoning and a bit of paprika, and finally a squeeze of lemon juice for brightness. After a quick toss, the chicken went into the air fryer for 350 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Actually, 13 minutes would have been fine too. Air fryers are honestly lifesavers when you're juggling multiple dishes. With the air fryer taking care of the chicken, I switched gears to prep breakfast. For breakfast, I made high-protein tiramisu overnight oats, a no-cook recipe that's as delicious as it sounds. In glass jars, I combined half cup of instant oats with half tablespoon of chia seeds and bruised protein coffee as the first protein source. These coffee packs are a Costco find, but if you don't have them, you can easily mix protein powder with espresso or brewed coffee. Each jar got about 1 cup of coffee, and because it's unsweetened, I added a touch of maple syrup for sweetness into each jar. After giving the jars a good stir, I set them aside to soak while I returned to check on dinner. By the time the Instant Pot had naturally released its pressure, the pasta was cooked perfectly. To give it a creamy texture, I stirred in a mix of tomato sauce and Greek yogurt, just enough to coat the pasta without making it too saucy. It's a trick for meal prep pasta to keep it on the dry side, otherwise it gets soggy over the week. I portioned the pasta into containers. Sadly, I was running out of all fresh herbs for garnish. Please picture it with a sprinkle of cilantro or parsley on top for that pop of color and flavor. And with that, the dinner was done. Just as I was about to move on, I remembered the air-fried chicken. Thankfully, it wasn't overcooked. I caught it just in time. I set it aside to cool down and then started assembling the salads. To save time, I used Mexican street corn style salad kit from Costco as the base. These kits are a meal prep hack. They come with dressing, toppings, and everything you need. To bulk it up, I also added a few more veggies, including mini cucumbers, 1 cucumber for each salad, plus also these funky looking peppers in a variety of colors. I just sliced them and added them to the salads as well. They taste just like bell peppers with a little more flair. For the protein, I added the seasoned air-fried chicken after making sure they were cold, otherwise the salad gets soggy from the heat. And then I also added some canned black beans. Beans are such a great addition. They bring both protein and carbs to the table, making the salad filling and balanced. The kit's dressing was on a creamy side, so I added a squeeze of lemon juice to thin it out, just because I prefer a thinner consistency and also because it helps reducing the fat percentage in the dressing. To keep everything fresh, I packed the crispy corn topping and powdered cheese separately. No soggy salads here. And with that, lunch was done as well. Finally, I circled back to the breakfast, and now the oats had absorbed some of that coffee. For an extra boost of protein, I added a layer of vanilla Greek yogurt to each jar. Make sure it's Greek yogurt, not regular yogurt, otherwise it wouldn't have as much protein. Ideally, you do this step right before eating for the cleanest layers, but let's be real, I'm all about prepping everything in advance. For the finishing touch, I dusted the jars with cocoa powder. It gives them that classic tiramisu looks and adds a little more of a flair. Sure, it's not actual tiramisu, no mascarpone or ladyfingers, but it's inspired by tiramisu and totally satisfies the craving. And with that, my meal prep for the week was done. Easy, quick, high protein meals that fit into my calorie deficit and did not require a stove or oven. Thanks so much for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and hopefully I'll see you next week with a shiny new stove.